Hey, what's up YouTube? It's Mikey here from Edexcel Maths Guide EMG, helping you get that A-star in A-level maths. Today we're going to be looking at some Core 1 maths. Specifically today, I'm going to give you a walkthrough guide of the very first exercise in the C1 Edexcel Maths book, Exercise 1A, while explaining to you exactly what I'm thinking and what you need to be thinking about when you see a question like this in the exam. Let's get started. Now, I will assume that you've already had a lesson on subject 1.1, that you can simplify expressions by collecting like terms, and I'll move straight on to the exercise, exercise 1A. If you hadn't had that lesson yet, or if you didn't understand it and you want a bit of a revision sesh on the topic, then comment that down below and I'll make you guys a video explaining this section. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel to keep up with the latest news so that we can get you that good result in A-level maths. Now, there are 18 questions in this exercise, all of which follow the same instruction to simplify the expression. And of course, if you want to pause the video and have a go at the questions yourself before I spoil it for you, which I would highly recommend doing, then do so now. Otherwise, let's get started with question number 1. Number 1. Simplify the expression 4x minus 5y plus 3x plus 6y. Now, when you see an expression like this, regardless of what the question is actually asking you, you should already be eyeing up the simple simplifications available to you. Now, I've always acknowledged that C1 is just a book teaching tools that you can use in C2 and the rest of the modules. Therefore, it is important to realise that you may not fully understand the reasoning or usefulness of certain exercises just yet. But don't worry, when I was doing A-level maths a couple of years ago, all I remember was being able to do the exercises in C1 without too much background knowledge. And then when I got to C2 or mechanics and the other modules, the subjects in those books required you to use steps that you use in C1 to complete the exercises. Therefore, you'll get experience in using these ones anyway. Now, how are we going to solve it? Now, we need to find the like terms. Now, here we've got the two x's, they are the same. They are like terms, 4x and 3x. Those two can be added together. 4 plus 3 is 7x. The other term here are the y's. We have minus 5y plus 6y. Those two can be combined. Minus 5 plus 6 equals 1y. This can be simplified again to 7x plus y. Now, the second one, once again, we're looking for like terms, so we can see that the 3r and the minus 5r are like terms. These can be simplified to which is 3 minus 5r, which is minus 2r. The 7t and the plus 3t can also be simplified. 7 plus 3 is 10t. It's better not to have a minus term at the beginning, so we can flip them around, and this is equal to 10t minus 2r. Question 3 has 3 terms in it, m, n and p, so we're looking for the like terms of the different letters. So we have 3m here, plus the 5m, which is 8m. Going to the ends, we have minus 2n plus 3n, 1n. We also have minus p, minus 6p, and that equals minus 7p. Now, question 4 is a little bit trickier. You might be tempted to think that 3ab is a like term with minus 3ac, but that's just not the case, as ab does not equal ac. 3ab is a like term, however, with the minus 7ab, so they can be combined. 3 minus 7 equals minus 4ab. The minus 3ac is a like term with the plus 5ac, so minus 3 plus 5 is plus 2ac, and then the plus 3a by itself can be added to the end. This is then simplified to 3a plus 2ac minus 4ab, because you don't want a negative term at the beginning. Now, question 5 may look to be a little bit more tricky, but it's exactly the same principle. We just use x squareds. Now, in this case, it's a very simple question because all the terms have the same x squared like term, so we can literally just add the numbers together. 7 minus 2 plus 5 minus 4 equals 6x squared. Question 6 is where all the fun begins, which is why I've changed pen, because I'm that serious. Now, in this case, the 4m squared n, you might be tempted to think that is a like term with the mn squared, but that's just not the case, because mn squared is not equal to m squared n. The 4m squared n is equal to the minus 2m squared n, so those two can be combined together. 4 minus 2 is 2m squared n. Second one, 5mn squared, is a like term with the final two terms, so those three can be added together. 5 plus 1 minus 3 equals 3mn squared. Question 7 is very important because you'll get a lot of questions that look like this. First term, x squared, is not a like term with just 4x, because x squared is x times x. The 5x squared is similar with the minus 3x squared, so 5 minus 3 is 2x squared. Moving on to the x terms, 4x is a like term with the 2x. 4 plus 2 equals 6x. Finally, we have the units, that's 1 plus 7, so we can add plus 8 to the end of our quadratic equation. Question 8 is the same as question 7, but with different numbers. So we have the 6x squared is a like term with the plus 3x, and not a like term with just the 5x or the minus 7x. So 6 plus 3x is 9x squared. Next we have the x terms, the 5x and the minus 7x. Those two can be combined. 5 minus 7 is 2x. And then finally we have the units. Minus 12 plus 11 is minus 1. Question 9, same again, just different numbers. So we'll start off with the 3x squared. The 3x squared is a like term with the other 3x squared. Those two can be combined. 3 plus 3 is 6x squared. Moving on to the x terms, we have minus 5x and the minus 7x. Minus 5 minus 7 is minus 12x. Moving on to the final integers, we have 2 minus 12 equals minus 10. Halfway there on question 10. Now for this first one, for c squared d, that is a like term with that is not a like term with c d squared, as c squared d does not equal c d squared. For c squared d is a like term with the minus c squared d, and with the last term, which is 7c squared d. These can be combined. 4 minus 1 plus 7 equals 10c squared d. The second term, 5cd squared, is a like term with the 3cd squared. Those two can be added together to make 8cd squared, and we're left with the final result of 10c squared d plus 8cd squared. Question 11 switches things up a bit. We have a bracket in there. Now I will say one thing, if you finish a question and you have the wrong answer, the first thing to check is to make sure you copy down the question correctly in the first place. Sounds very patronising, but that is the #1 cause of mistakes with me and my mates when we were doing A-level maths. Now, in this case, when you have a bracket, first thing you have to do is expand them. I always write a little instruction to the right of my equation, just so I know when I'm reading back through my work exactly what I did on the last step. So we're going to expand these brackets, so that gives us 2x squared plus 3x plus 1 plus, now we'll do the 2 times 3x squared, which is 6x squared, then 2 times the 6, which is 12. We can then simplify this like we've been doing in the previous questions, and we have with the x squared terms, we have 2x squared plus 6x squared, which is 8x squared. Then with the x terms, 3x is by itself, so we just put 3x down. Then with the units, we have 1 plus 12 is 13. Question 12, we have to expand the brackets again. If you need help with expanding brackets, you can leave me a comment below and I'll make a video explaining exactly how you can do it. So first bit, we do 4 times a, which is 4a, plus 4 times a squared b, which is 4a squared b. Moving on to the second term, now we have a negative term there. You must remember the negative term. That is causing a lot of issues, not forgetting to put the negative term in. So we have minus 3 times 2a, which is minus 6a, then minus 3 times a squared b, which is minus 3a squared b. We can then simplify this like we've been doing with the previous questions. So with the a terms, we have 4a and minus 6a. 4 minus 6 is minus 2a. Second term, we have a squared b, so we have 4a squared b minus 3a squared b, which equals just singly a squared b. Now we don't want a negative term at the front, so we can rewrite this a squared b minus 2a. Question 13, much like question 12, we have to expand the brackets once again. Starting with the first bracket, we have 2 times 3x, which is just 6x squared. We have 2 times the 4x, which is 8x, and the 2 times 5 is 10. Moving on to the second bracket, remembering the negative, we have minus 3 times x squared, which is minus 3x squared. Minus 3 times minus 2x is positive 6x. Minus 3 times minus 3 is positive 9. Simplifying this, like we've been doing in the previous questions, it gives us, well, we look at the x squared terms first. 6x squared is also simple to the minus 3x squared. 6 minus 3 is 3x squared. Moving on to the x terms, we have 8x plus 6x gives us 14x. Then the 10 plus the 9 gives us 19. Question 14, same sort of thing. First of all, we'll expand the brackets. So for the first term, we have 7 times 1, which is 7. 7 times minus x squared equals minus 7x squared. Plus 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times minus 3x is minus 9x. And then the 3 times the plus 5x is 15x squared. Then we'll simplify it like we're doing it all the other times. So working out the x squared terms, we have minus 7x squared plus 15x squared gives us 8x squared. Moving on to the x terms, we just have minus 9x is the only x term in our equation, so we just write minus 9x, and then 7 plus 6 gives us 13. Question 15, we expand the first brackets at the beginning. So 4 times a is 4a, 4 times b is 4b, and 4 times 3c gives us 12c. And we just copy on the minus 3a and the plus 2c. Now we simplify it like we've been doing in all the other questions before. Once again, look at the a terms. So we have 4a and minus 3a. That just gives us singularly a. And the b terms, we have plus 4b. That's by itself. Then the c terms, we have plus 12c, plus 2c. 12 plus 2 is 14c. Question 16, much like the rest of them, we're going to expand the brackets first. So first we got 4 times c is 4c, plus 4 times 3d squared is 12d squared. Now remember, in the minus on the second set of brackets, we have minus 3 times 2c is minus 6c, minus 3 times plus d squared, oh mistake there, is minus 3d squared. Simplifying it again, we look at the c terms first, or look at the d squared terms first. We have 12d squared minus 3d squared is 9d squared. Look at the c terms, we have plus c minus 6c is minus 2c. Question 17, much like the same, we have a quadratic equation in the brackets first, so we'll just copy that 5 out. Now expanding this bracket, we have minus 3x squared, plus minus 3 plus 2x is minus 6x. Then minus 3 times minus 5 is plus 15, and then just plus 3x squared on the end. Now we'll simplify this like usual. We'll look at the x squared terms first. So at the beginning we have minus 3x squared, and we also have a plus 3x squared. Now minus 3 plus 3 is 0x squared. I'll just put it in for now, but those two terms can be cancelled out. Next, the x terms, we have minus 6x, that can be written out, and 5 plus 15 is plus 20. Simplifying this, we can get rid of the 0x squared, and we're just left with the minus 6x plus 20, but we don't want a negative first, so we'll put 20 minus 6x. And here we are with question 18, the last question in this series. Now this one can be a bit off-putting, because we have brackets but nothing times by it. Now this is just one of Edexcel's attempts to throw us off balance. That's not going to affect you though, is it? Because if there's nothing times by the brackets, we can just pretend it's all times by 1. And therefore we can literally write it as if there were no brackets there. So as if r squared plus 3t squared plus 9. We can get rid of these brackets. Now I'm just going to leave them in there just so I don't get confused. Now we have minus times the bracket. Now this is the case of timesing every term in the bracket by minus 1. So we have minus 2r squared, minus 3t squared, and minus 1 times minus 4 is positive 4. Then we just simplify it like we've been doing, easy stuff. Look at the r squareds first. We have r squared and minus 2r squared. 1 minus 2 is minus r squared. Then look at the t squared. We have positive t squared and minus 3t squared. Now those two can cancel each other out because 3 minus 3 is 0. So that's 0t squared. Then we have the units, 9 plus 4 is plus 13. Now, getting rid of the t squared because we cancelled it out and making sure that we don't have a negative term at the beginning of our equation, our final answer is 13 minus r squared. Thank you for watching the first YouTube video in this series. If you enjoyed the video or found it useful, give me a thumbs up down below and make sure you subscribe to keep updated of when more of my content is released. You can click the little bell by the side of the subscription button to receive notifications. If you have any questions on the video today, or you want me to change the format of how I'm creating the videos, comment that down below and I'll look into it. If you want me to cover anything in particular or you have any questions, I can make videos explaining the problems you have. Have a great week and let's get an A star in maths.